I'm Joe Duffy for Picks and Parlays. I've got two free college football picks on this report. Kansas and Central Florida, Wisconsin and Michigan. I got the spread winner on both of those games. Also, make sure you subscribe to the Picks and Parlays channel and scroll back. I've got several previews and picks up this week. Penn State and UCLA. And you definitely want to watch that video. Why? I make my international singing debut in that. It is worth the price of admission just to see that. By the way, the admission is free, but that video is going to blow up the internet just because I am a really, really good singer. You got to watch that video for sure. Vanderbilt, Alabama. And if you're watching this early enough, Thursday Night Football, the Rams and 49ers. All that just for this week alone on the Picks and Parlays channel. And I hope to get another preview or two before the week is out. So many winners, so little time. But make sure you do that. And a little bit later on in this report, I'm going to tell you, if you're watching this by Friday's kickoffs, what a bargain. What a bargain. You're going to be able to get my picks, my best bets, all of them for Friday, and the other handicappers of Picks and Parlays for just $7. All right, why don't we get straight to it? Kansas is laying 4.5 with a total 54.5 at Central Florida. But keep an eye on especially the total. It's already dropping. Rain is almost certain. And as of right now, as I'm talking to you, the winds are expected to be from 10 to 20 miles per hour. If this holds up, the total is going to continue to drop. So depending on when you're watching this, I call them bet middlers. I do think there still could be even more opportunity to bet both the over and the under with a chance at getting it in the middle. But like I said, if you do want to bet that under, you might want to bet it right away because I do believe the total is going to drop. But then again, keep track of that weather report. I'm not a weather forecaster. I'm pretty good at predicting the games. I'll leave the weather to somebody else. It won't be all that hot. And by the way, this is something that a couple of years ago, Dan Marino, who, and this was about, I heard him say this about 15 years ago. Look, he played his high school his high school football and his college football in Pittsburgh. He played at Central Catholic and, of course, University of Pitt, started for 4 years. Then he played his entire NFL career at Miami. So there's nobody more qualified to say this. He says it is much tougher to go from a cold weather team and play in hot weather than it is for a hot weather team to play in the snow. We see all, the cold and the snow, and it's very graphic to our eyes, and most of us would probably think just the opposite. But that's something that I've taken into consideration in my handicapping over the years, quote-unquote intangible, if you will. And anecdotally, from a handicapping standpoint, I'm not going to argue with him, although there might be some other football players that disagree with him. It's just his opinion. But anecdotally speaking, that's where the bigger edge is. Doesn't quite apply, though, in this game. But the weather should be a factor when it comes to the total and also the side as well. All right, some of our great super systems here. Again, our famous bubble burst theory. Fade teams off of the first loss of the season if they had at least 3 wins. And especially when it's a blowout loss. And again, I've got several versions of this stored in my computer. If they're off of a loss of 14 points or more, it's 113, 56, and 4. That would favor Kansas because we're fading Central Florida in that circumstances. A few other qualifiers that are eliminated, such as a high spread and or a high total, and the winning percentage goes up a little bit. 103, 38, and 4. Now, Kansas is 0-1 straight up on the road. UCF is 3-0 straight up at home. And again, my anti-splits, it's especially good in the NBA. The NBA is right around the corner, as I said. Sign up for my NBA. My anti-splits angle is fantastic there. But if you're going just on straight-up record and splits, you would think Central Florida maybe should be the home favorite, right? No. Listen to what the odds makers are telling you. When a bad road team, at least based on the road winning percentage, is not getting at least 4 points to a very good home team, at least based on winning percentage. Now, that means they could be a small underdog or they could be a favorite. They're just not getting at least 4.5 points. Those teams are 704, 555, and 27 going with those teams, so somewhat counterintuitive. That would, of course, then favor Kansas. Action Network has us Kansas minus 3.9. Not really much contrarian information. The public does like the favorite, but not that heavily. So there's no for or against the rock chalks, I guess, the public is liking. But still, especially because my free pick is going to be on Kansas minus the 4.5. And especially, like I said, because that angle, anti-splits angle, wins in every damn sport. And it's been good to me. The basic theory's been good. And again, you definitely want to get my NBA picks free and premium picks at Picks and Parlays. Not just that. That's just a system that applies in the NBA more than any other sport. But we got a lot of other metrics and a lot of other reasons I win. So again, Kansas. All right, Wisconsin, Michigan. Michigan laying 17, 43.5. Definitely use odds logic. I've seen the side and the total vary. You want to shop around for both the side and total here. That's why I love odds logic. And I told you, odds logic I especially like for contrarian information. All right, you've probably heard this before, not just from me, from other people. This is a popular system. Big conference road dogs with a low total. In this specific case, and again, I got a couple different versions of this, but when you have a road underdog of 9 or more and a total 45 or less in the conference, going with the road underdog is 223, 142, and 15. I also like to mix in other qualifiers, like when systems collide. I see what happens when systems collide, and then I eliminate that subsystem. So I do have another tightened up, enhanced version of this, where the winning percentage goes up a little bit. 212, 132, and 15. That would favor Wisconsin. Now, most of my systems are counterintuitive. This is one that actually qualifies as intuitive, but again, it does make a ton of sense. When a total is low, points mean more. So 17 points in a game that's expected to be low scoring, which this is actually a lot more points from a handicapping standpoint. Forget about what your math teacher in 4th grade taught you about, less equals 2, or greater than equal to or more. From a handicapping standpoint, 17 points in a game that's expected to be low scoring is much larger than getting 17 points in a game where the total would be 65, for example. So, again, it makes sense. Points are so much more valuable in this game. And, again, that's one of our systems that's definitely intuitive, not counterintuitive. Going off of a road team, off of a game in which their opponent ran 26 times or fewer in that game, and they were not leading by at least 25 points after 3 quarters, is 438, 312, and 19. That would also favor Wisconsin. Now, I'll be honest with you. That's a system. I trade some systems with other sharps. I don't put as much stock into this as my sharp guy does. He kind of explained why it makes sense to him. But it's something, I'll report, you decide. It's still pretty statistically significant, though. Go with teams off a game with 6 or fewer penalties and versus an opponent that rushed for less than 147 yards last game is 854, 680, and 39. That would favor Michigan. But still, all in all, I'm going to go with Wisconsin. I think they can keep this game close. And as I said, that conference big dogs with a low total, do you know that's had only one losing year? It's not maybe as statistically overwhelming as some of the other systems I have, but it just keeps winning. I mean, it just wins year in and year out. So Wisconsin is your free pick. Wisconsin and Kansas are your 2 free picks. All right, are you watching this before Friday kickoffs? If so, picks and parlays. Grab all my best bets for $7. MLB playoffs. You know what? I frankly don't know if I don't think I actually have a Friday night college football pick up yet, but I may. And other handicappers, too. They're all taking part. I think just about everyone's taking part in this. Go to Picks and Parlays on Friday. Get the Friday best bets for a mere $7. And if you've never gotten my picks before, I'm very confident once you get my picks, you're going to be hooked. So $7, and you're going to see the product's pretty good. Hopefully I showed you here. I know what I'm talking about. Look, I've been doing this since 1988. I graduated. I know I look young as hell. I'm a good-looking man, very young looking. I did graduate in 1988. California University of Pennsylvania, we're the number 6 team in football in Division II, by the way. But I've been a full-time handicapper since. I actually worked for Dial Sports in college. Been in this business forever. Picked up a thing or two. Maybe you never heard of me before. That's okay. My feelings are a little bit hurt. But I've been doing this a long time. Been a pro gambler and a pro handicapper for decades. Get Joe Duffy's picks. at Picks and Parlays, and check out these next videos from Picks and Parlays.